Hello, thank you for letting me speak with you today. My name is Denise, and I am a survivor of domestic violence. It wasn't always that way. For a long time, I was a victim of domestic violence. I'm now hoping one day, through the help of a lot of caring people, to be a thriver from it. The first question most people ask, however, is, why didn't you just leave? Why doesn't the victim just leave? And it's not that simple. For me, there were three main areas. First, my children. I believed I was doing what was best for them, trying to hold my family together, trying to get them successfully off on their way. Discovering that while I was out working my 4 part-time jobs to support the family, while my abuser had his reasons for not, he was abusing my children while I was off at work. So yes, it can go on right under your nose without you knowing it. All the while, as the years passed, the children thought they were protecting me by not telling me, and I thought I was protecting the children by not telling them. Secondly, aside from all of the physical abuse and emotional abuse and mental abuse, there's also financial abuse. We were stranded. Where would we go? How would we survive? How would we be free? So the difficulty to just leave wasn't there. And then there's a safety factor involved. If we tried to leave and were unsuccessful, what we would come home to would be worse. And who could we tell? Who could we believe would safely help us? And who would believe us of our circumstances? For it was our job to always make him look like the great, nice guy. In public, we were to do that, because if we didn't, when we came home, the consequences would be worse. I started to slowly reach out to people that I thought I could feel safe and could trust. And there was the third challenge as to why I stayed. I took my sacraments seriously. My investment in my God and my soul was always the most important thing to me. And my abuser knew that. He knew I would not turn my sacrament into something disrespectful. He knew I stayed because I promised God I would stay. Couples therapy, marriage counseling, and even worldwide marriage encounter of the church. We were active in that. I tried everything to save my marriage, just to discover the honeymoon phases, as it's put, to bring me right back in, to hold me in a position of power, control, and manipulation that he had over me and our children. I even went to my parish priest and asked him for help. And his response to me was exactly these words: "I'm sorry, I can't help you." I left that meeting broken, discouraged, and an infallible human, not in my God. I knew God was in the boat with me. I knew he'd rage the storm with me, but I had no idea how I'd get out. My children were getting older. The abuse was getting worse on all fronts. And my spirit was at war. My soul was under siege. Where would I go? I did continue to reach out to other people carefully and cautiously, because it is frightening. Will word get back to him? Unfortunately, I felt I had to leave my parish of over 20 years that I was very active in. We had a new parish priest now, a new pastor, a new associate pastor, and they had the training. They understood what domestic violence was. I felt safe going to them. But unfortunately, a lot of the human infallibilities, a lot of the people trying to make the rules in the church or of our parish didn't understand the layers and the cycles of domestic abuse. But then I heard of this man, Father Dom. He was preaching in a church nearby. And so I said, well, I'll go listen. And I went to hear him pray, and I was open to the fact that I knew I would be hearing a very holy man preach about God and forgiveness. What I received was so much more. I listened to a man who not only told me the importance of God's forgiveness to those who can see the wrong in their ways and change. I also saw a man who, despite we know the small percentage of abusers who change, his focus was to help the victims. He understood all the layers of abuse, all the facets that held us there, and was open, loving, and showing us that God wanted us safe. So between the Pope declaring that a victim of abuse should not stay there in a sacrament just because of the sacrament, and hearing Father Dom, the full education and giving people the resources for themselves to flee and the resources for our parish to be understanding. Those were significant to me. I felt like I was sitting there to a man who never met me before, but he was preaching my life story to the congregation at the church that day. Through those people and their effort, I now have a new parish home. I have a new parish pastor who gets it, and a wonderful congregation as well. I'm also happy to say that I do know the parish that I left is also receiving the same education to be able to be there for the victims and their families and the abuser if they should choose. The focus, though, is getting the victim and the family of the victim safe, getting us a place to feel whole again. My journey's still there. My journey's been long. The court systems continue to allow my abuser to manipulate me, allow me to be more financially drained and more exhausted. Also in my church, I know that I need to find a way to honor my sacrament in a different way. And one of my first fears was, how will I love this man forever? Because I promised God that I would. And my new pastor looked at me and said, let's not work on that for right now. Let's work on saving your children and saving you and getting your soul nourished again. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm helping my children be better people. I'm helping myself back to God with a put together pieces of my heart. They say that God shines best through broken pieces. And I've been blessed on my journey to meet a lot of other people going through this journey broken. But now there's so much training and understanding available for lay people and for priests to listen to these victims, to hear the cues, to hear the signals, so that no one ever has to go timidly scared and say, help me, and hear the answer, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Some people don't get involved because they're afraid of the ricochet that might be there. Some people don't get involved because they themselves are going through their own journeys. So we can't judge them. We have to give the victim the place to feel empowered and strong to walk again and to know that God never left them in this journey. As I've continued in my journey, there were hard times when people would say negative things behind my back to my children, untruthful things, hurtful things, that I was the cause of this. And someone reminded me that even Jesus had people say lies about him behind his back and tried to bring down his visions and his ministry. So who can I be to not accept the same and not expect the same? But what I can expect also is God made us, each and every one, to stand up and help each other. And here's what I hope all churches can do moving forward, is understand that the victim did not put themselves in this place. It's not the victim's fault. It's nothing we did or did not do. Unfortunately, there's a broken individual who chose their behavior to be abusive to us. It's now our job to help the victims feel empowered again and be a full part of our church. So I ask each and every one of you to consider how you too can open your doors and listen to someone, empower them again back to their soul, let them know they're not alone, and be those arms of Christ reaching out to each of us today in this world. We don't want to tell someone, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm sorry, I don't believe you. Because again, the layers of abuse are thick and deep, but we can reach down with Christ and help them weather this storm.